two important topics. We are going to discuss two important topics, which is in extension of our discussion for the past weeks. Which is, if last week we discussed about summary trial, this week we are going to discuss about High Court trial. And for High Court trial, in general, I believe that you need to know that why we need to have this particular topic, because High Court trial, there are some similarity with summary trial for subordinate court, okay, but for High Court, the emphasis is more towards because of section 22. If you still remember, you learned about Malaysian legal system, then you have come across the terms of original criminal jurisdiction of the High Court to try criminal cases, in which it involves territorial jurisdiction, okay, and extraterritorial jurisdiction, okay, meaning that the High Court, to the extent that can try any cases that happen or occurred even on the vessel registered in a Malaysian vessel, even in the international high seas, for example. So the extent of jurisdiction for High Court is actually quite very wide compared to subordinate court, okay, which inclusive of the jurisdiction to try cases where punishment of death penalty can be imposed. For example, under Section 302, under Section 39B of Dangerous Drug Act, under Section under the FIPA Fire Increase Penalty Act, okay, and it is also important to note that only the High Court, not subordinate court, only the High Court has been given an exclusive jurisdiction under SOSMA 2012, okay, and for the purpose of CPC, the jurisdiction of High Court to try any cases can be seen from chapter 20, which is from section 178 until section 183 of the Criminal Procedure Code. So this is for the introduction, in which you need to know why we need to discuss about jurisdiction of High Court under the syllabus of CPC. Okay, right. You guys can see this slide as well. Can you guys see the slide?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Just want to hear your response. If not, I feel that I'm talking alone. So, okay, for the commencement of trial, you can refer to section 178, 178, which is, it is quite familiar with section 173A and B, for the commencement of trial. It is quite similar, for example, in terms of charge, in terms of how to get ready to commence trial, okay, even the plea of guilty, right? So once plea of guilty accepted and recorded, same goes to the procedure in which the prosecution, once the court accepted the plea of guilty of the accused person, therefore the court will ask the prosecution to lay out the facts of the case, and after that, if the accused person still meaning that agree to that particular facts of the case, therefore the court will convict the accused person and passing the death sentence accordingly. This is if the accused person plead guilty. But in order for that, the court must be sure that the accused person must know the nature of his plea, and not just the nature of the plea, the court also must be sure that the nature of punishment that the accused person was liable to receive upon the conviction. So this is very important. Not just the nature, not just the consequences, but also the nature of punishment. Because why? As I mentioned to you, when it comes to High Court, the criminal jurisdiction, to the extent of not just to pass death sentence, but also a life sentence, penjara seumur hidup, bukan setakat hukuman bagi kesalahan, bukan setakat hukuman untuk hukuman gantung sahaja, but also it extend towards the personal liberty of the accused person, which is penjara seumur hidup, for example. So this is very important. So if you can see from there are cases in which, for example, in case of Muhammad Fazil Zainul Abidin versus PP, in which the court to ensure that the charge had been fully understood, which inclusive of the facts of the case outline of all elements of charge must be satisfied with. Okay, so this is also the same principle with the summary trial for the lower court. So can the accused person withdraw his plea? For example, he pleaded guilty in the first place, but along the way after that, the accused person decided to withdraw, to change his plea. Withdrawal of plea meaning that to change his plea from a plea of guilty to not plead guilty and claim for trial. Okay, so in the case of Lee Wen Tak, this actually happened, in which the accused pleaded guilty, and after that he withdraw his plea, meaning that he's changed his plea from plead guilty to claim trial. But however, the court refused to accept his withdrawal of plea and sentenced him to death sentence. So on the appeal, the Court of Appeal say no, you have to accept the fact that the accused person need to know not just the nature of his plea, but also the nature of the punishment that he will receive upon the conviction. So the Court of Appeal had reversed the sentence. So what happened if, let's say, that the accused person are unable to plead? Unable to plead meaning that whether in terms of mental health or health capacity, incapacitate, for example. So whether the accused person, if he or she unable to plead guilty, so what will be the procedure? Okay, so you can see from the case of PP versus Dat Anak Tuni, this is pertaining to section 342 until 352, the procedure in which if the judge found out that or if the judge in the opinion that the accused person are incapable or are not fit to make his plea due to his health status. So in this particular situation, if let's say that that person is mentally incapacitated, so the court will make an order under section 342 for to send the accused person for checkup, for assessment, mental health assessment by the psychiatrist or by the doctors. So this is for the person who are unable to plead because of his mental status or health status. But what happened in terms of if that particular person are OKU, for example. So if that person is OKU, so must refer to section 119 of the Evidence Act 1950, in which all kinds of ways can be adopted to accept the plea from the accused person. Okay, although in a sign language form, for example. So this is you can refer to section 119 of the Evidence Act 1950. Okay. The only differences between the High Court and the Subordinate Court in terms of criminal trial, you can see from section 179, which is the requirement for the prosecution to open his case. So meaning that the prosecution before the prosecution will open their case by having an opening statement. Okay, an opening statement. So the opening statement, if you can refer to section 179, opening statement is something which the officer that in charge of prosecution must open his case by stating shortly the nature of the offence and outline material evidence proposed to prove the accused's guilt by admissible evidence. Okay, so this is something which the prosecution will, in his statement, will give an overview of their case, in which it will include the available evidence by which he proposes to prove the guilt of the accused person. Okay, so what would be the requirement? So dia macam ucapan pembukaan lah, ucapan pembukaan oleh pihak